AMD stock just got a nice bullish sentiment, and I think AMD stock investors are going to be excited as Northland Capital just announced AMD as their top pick for 2025. Now, they do have a price target of about $175, and the most important thing that they mention is they think there is significantly more upside to calendar year of 2025 than risk for AMD. Now, I want to say I 100% agree with that statement right there. I think the market right now is underestimating how well AMD can perform. I think originally, at the beginning of this year, many thought AMD was going to be the next NVIDIA. Luckily, if you've been following this channel, you know that has not been the case. Now, I believe the market has shifted from the huge expectations to now underestimating expectations, and we're seeing this stock continue to be in a downtrend, and I think that is a huge mistake. But before we go any further, make sure to hit the thumbs up, make sure to hit the subscribe button, as this is going to be the best place you're going to find any semiconductor news. Check out the pinned comment for special offer at fool.com/Jose. Check out my free daily newsletter, whatthechip.happened.com. And every morning at 8:30 a.m., check out my daily live streams. If you have any questions about the semiconductor industry, make sure to stay tuned. So let's get started.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
So AMD, while I don't believe they're going to be the next NVIDIA, I do believe that the current supply chain constraint in the AI market, which is going to continue, the current demand for AI chips is gonna allow AMD to grow in the AI GPU space. Now, it's not gonna grow at levels like we're seeing NVIDIA grow. I mean, right, AMD for 2025 is only expected to do roughly $5 billion in revenue for AI chips, where NVIDIA makes more multiples of that per quarter, right? So I think that dynamic is gonna stay the same. I think AMD next year might do an extra few more billions of dollars in AI chips for the year, but it's not going to do the numbers NVIDIA does on a quarter basis. So I think that's good to understand, because if you're coming here with the expectations that AMD is the next NVIDIA, I think you're getting yourself set up for a very wrong time, or for a very bad time. One of the biggest things, though, with AMD is their AI chips are definitely good for things like inferencing. And right now, we are kind of seeing this introduction of things like OpenAI o1 and OpenAI o3 and all these kind of thinking process, which is just more inference-heavy workloads. Because AMD's chips are a lot cheaper in forms of hardware, maybe not in forms of total cost of ownership, but maybe in total cost of ownership when looking at inference workloads, that equation might change. I think that does give the opportunity for AMD to gain some revenue in this space. Now, if we look at valuations, sure, you might say, Jose, look, what are you talking about? AMD's current PE ratio is 110. And to those that are going to say that, I want to say, I just want to facepalm, right? That's really what I want to do. Because it's important to remember that the semiconductor market is cyclical, especially in the consumer space. This PE ratio is a PE ratio that's high because the industry was in a negative cyclicality space, right? It was in the down cycle. And we can see historically, AMD's PE ratio has not been this expensive. It's actually been pretty cheap in 2021, in 2022, and some of 2023. But when the down cycle happened, we kind of saw that turn to very high PE ratios. Now we're back in the up cycle, right? And things are decreasing. So current PE ratios should never be used when looking at semiconductor companies. I think what's more important is forward PE ratio. So forward PE ratio is the end of this fiscal year, which actually ends, I think, tomorrow. And right, their earnings is ending. And tomorrow, based on expectations, their PE ratio should actually be 36. Now, forward 1 year, which is the end of next fiscal year, which is about 12 months from now, is down to 24. I personally believe that's very cheap. And this is because, remember, these are analyst expectations. And analyst expectations are not expecting much growth in AMD's AI center revenue, especially in forms of GPUs. So I believe so a lot of the risk has been priced in. Now, in my opinion, too much negativity has been priced in. So when AMD creates great sales on AI GPUs, even a little bit better than expected, this can drive the stock to new levels. And if we look at some of the thoughts from this analyst here, now in forms of AI revenue, this year, I think somewhere around $5.2 billion in 2024. By 2025, this capital group expects about 9.5. So not even 100% year-over-year growth, even already starting from a small base, but still strong double digits. I want to say that's probably closer to like 80% year-over-year growth. And that is expected to go with growth thanks to the MI325X. So in my opinion, those are decent expectations, and I believe AMD can somewhat meet those. And if they meet those, I think that would be great news for the stock. Now, AMD does have a huge competition against NVIDIA, and NVIDIA is not going to let out of the pedal. So that's what's controlling AMD's growth, and I think it's going to continue to control AMD's growth. Some other things outside of AI, they are providing CPUs for the data center market. And their new CPU, the Turin processor, is going to outperform Intel's solutions. So they are going to continue to gain market share from Intel in forms of data center players, but in my opinion, also from the big enterprise companies, right? So I think AMD is going to be able to grow in the CPU space, where this company is expecting at least a 10% year-over-year growth. I think there's potential for additional upside in this segment as enterprise, especially now with Intel really being in the news as losing its CEO, kind of canceling a few projects here and there. I think even enterprises who normally would go with Intel for their CPU increasements or their CPU upgrades, I think there's a huge potential that the current shift is going to drive even more revenue for AMD server CPUs. Now, another one is the PC client market. So there is a huge upgrade cycle catalyst. Obviously, the first thing is AI PC, but the biggest cycle catalyst, in my opinion, is that Microsoft is going to be ending their support to Windows 10, which is going to trigger a replacement. This Northland Capital expects that a replacement cycle of nearly 1.2 billion systems. So if this replacement cycle materializes as expected, they could be expectations here in the client PC side. So that's also bullish. And then obviously, if consumer AI picks up and consumer AI PCs become stronger, that can also drive even more growth for the PC market. Now, unfortunately, the gaming segment, because we're not seeing a new Xbox, we're not seeing a new PS5, is going to be flat in 2025 after a huge decline in 2024. But this is much expected until we get those new gaming consoles coming out. Now, the other market that I'm actually pretty excited about is the embedded market. So the embedded market is a huge cash flow machine for AMD. Unfortunately, it did see a huge decline here in 2024, but we are expecting this to be the bottom. The segment is expected by Northland Capital to grow by at least $350 million in 2025. So very similar to what AMD has mentioned to us is the embedded market, while it is bottoming out, the recovery is going to be gradually slower than expected. But the embedded market is a very important cycle or player for AMD. As we can see, about a year ago, when this company was making about $1.2 billion a quarter in embedded market, about 60%, about 50% of that was in operating income. So it is a huge cash flow machine. Now, during the down cycle, the operating income has gone down to about 30-something%. If we are done with the bleeding, if we start to recover, I think margins in this will pick up back up, and we start to see a nice amount of free cash flow entering AMD again. So that can be an overall bullish sentiment for the stock as well. So I haven't been quiet. I believe AMD is definitely one that is sitting at great opportunities. Obviously, in the short term, the stock can continue to go down, but I am very bullish in this company. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Take care, have a good day, and see you all next time.